Hey everybody, this is TJR.
This is Superfan.
Just hanging out with our little friend, and
His oversized guitar.
yeah, oversized for him, and
He's decided he wants to be a guitarist.
he has.
when he
Well,
grows
well,
up.
he'll regret that. Anyways, nah. I don't. There is not a day that goes by that I regret learning to play guitar, or learning to play piano, or learning to sing. It's been the best experience of my life. But enough of that. So we're going to talk about a film that, well, I guess I should first say, of course, right now, of course, there is, of course, the fact that Let It Be is finally being re-released on Disney Plus, and we thought we should mention there's another film on Disney Plus, another documentary movie that very much relates to the Beatles and the 60s and the classic rock period. And that is the film, the documentary film, If These Walls Could Sing, which is a film about Abbey Road Studios.
Yes.
It is directed by Mary McCartney. It features, makes very good use of not only new interviews, but archival interviews, and also archival footage, way more archival footage than I would have expected as well.
Yeah.
Lots of great commentary. And of course, if you're going to have a documentary about Abbey Road Studios, you're going to, of course, be talking about the Beatles more than once, certainly. And this film does do that.
Especially since your dad was one of the Beatles.
Well, especially true. But I mean, even if, regardless of the fact that it's directed by Mary McCartney, there's no way you can not talk about the Beatles more than once in this documentary. The Beatles are kind of a touchstone. They come up a couple times in this film.
They put the studio on the map, I think.
Yeah, I think that's very safe to say, yeah. Though there was some prehistory prior to that, and they do get into that. And they do talk to people who were recording there before the Beatles, like Cliff Richard.
Yeah.
And great that he is still alive to be able to talk about his experiences. But there are so many other interviews that kind of took me by surprise. To me, the one that really oh, really, I didn't realize that, was Jimmy Page talking about reminiscing in the present day about his experience at Abbey Road Studio as a session player, being part of the ensemble that's recording the theme song to the James Bond film Goldfinger.
Yeah.
And him describing it, it's like, I didn't know Jimmy Page did that. But also just his whole recounting of the experience is incredibly entertaining.
And some of his other comments too.
Yeah, some of his other comments, which we won't get into here because we want to save it for you. But that's, I think, was really remarkable about this film, is when we think of Abbey Road, sometimes we just simply think about the Beatles. We don't think about other musicians. We don't think about, like, for instance, John Williams, recording so many memorable movie scores there.
Yeah.
Talking about how when he first saw the place, he thought the room was too small for the orchestra. But then once they started recording, he couldn't get over how great it sounded.
Yeah.
And how it sounded better than the much larger, more lavish American studios.
Yeah, what the room brought.
What the room brought, yeah, to the sound of the music. But yeah, just so many amazing stories. One thing that I wasn't expecting was interviews with David Gilmour, and with Roger Waters, and two separate aspects of that. One where they're both talking about how the fact that when they were recording their first album as Pink Floyd, the Beatles were recording Sgt. Pepper. And these two things are happening at the same time. They're actually invited to come by where the Beatles are recording and give a listen.
Yeah.
And just, it's like, wow, amazing. But then, several years later, they're recording Dark Side of the Moon, which I forget sometimes was recorded at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
They're recording Dark Side of the Moon, and I think it was Roger Waters who's saying that, maybe it was David Gilmour, but it doesn't matter. But one of them is saying how the same people are still there from 6, 7, 8 years ago, from when they were recording their first album. The same people are still there working in the studio, and that's one of the great things they talk about, is that the continuity of being able to go there, and all the same reliable people are there year after year after year.
And some of them are still there.
Some of them are still there now. Yeah, amazing. And that creates a level of continuity and professionalism that you can't get when there's constantly people changing hands.
Yeah.
That just creates a real level of experience, because people, they know the equipment, they know the room, they know the gear, they know the nuances. They know that if they put the mic here, it's going to sound like this. If they put the mic here, it's going to sound like that, because they've just worked there so long and they know the place.
Yeah, and there was one part, we'll give you this little tidbit.
Yeah.
About kind of the fix-it guy at the place who was fixing a 1960s microphone when she was interviewing him.
Yeah.
And just saying, well, somebody dropped it and broke it, and I don't know,
She asked who broke it. He says, no one will ever own up to that. He tells her.
But just the fact that they work so hard to maintain that equipment.
Yeah, that's that old. And they have, of course, the modern equipment. They've got the old equipment, because all those, modern gear, old gear, they have certain sonic qualities to them.
Yeah.
That are unique to that gear, and they understand that. The other thing, getting back to the whole Pink Floyd aspect of it, the other part of it, and I don't want to give away too much, but the other part of it that I have to admit, when they started talking about Dark Side of the Moon, it was heartbreaking, because you're seeing separate interviews filmed at separate times with David Gilmour and Roger Waters. And there is some interviews with Nick Mason too, also separately. And it's sad because separately, they can all acknowledge...
They're so complimentary of the work that they did.
That they created. They so acknowledge that how...
The involvement that the others had.
Yeah, they can acknowledge
that.
Yet they can't seem to get along in the same room together. And it's sad. It's really, really sad that they can talk about what they did, not just what they did separately, but what they did collectively, and understanding the talents that each other brought to it in these interviews, but yet can't be in the same room together, can't get along. And as I watched that, I remember I paused it and I looked at you and I just said, that's just so heartbreaking, because I would think that they would almost not be able to acknowledge each other because of how they feel, but they were certainly able to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, wow, just too bad they can't get along. And it's too bad they haven't been able to get along for so long. Anyways, though, but
there
yeah.
are 3 rooms there. Maybe they could do something that way.
Maybe so. But yeah, this is just a really enjoyable documentary. Of course, it can't cover everything, but I think it gives you a good sense of the breadth and scope of what Abbey Road has been involved with over the decades.
Yeah.
And how many amazing records have been made there. And like I said,
still being made.
Still being made, yeah. And sessions that occurred that I never had really thought about. Elton John's there. He talks about being at the session before he was famous, for He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, for that song, the first recording of that song.
He was also a studio musician.
Yeah, and he was he was doing studio gigs on the side. This was before he was huge.
And they actually played an isolated track, and you could tell it was him.
Yeah, he was talking before the track started, yeah. And they played some of that. But yeah, just a great film. And I kind of wanted to point it out. It's been out now for about a year.
I think, yeah.
And I haven't really heard it talked about too much on the internet. It seems to, I don't know why, but I just haven't heard it talked about much. But if you've been watching, of course, I'm sure that the fact that Let It Be has been, been re-released on Disney Plus has probably brought people, back to check, to check it out. Maybe you started rewatching some of Get Back again. And I just want to say, if you're doing any of that, give this film a watch. I wish we had watched it a year ago. I wish we'd watched it before we went to Abbey Road, which we were there several months ago. I wish and we knew it was there, but we just hadn't gotten around to it. And I think it was because we were looking forward to seeing Let It Be that we decided, we should watch this. And just as kind of an appetizer before we watch Let It Be.
Well, we were looking for the trailer and this popped up.
Yeah. And then we said, oh, that's right. This has been here for a year. We got to watch this thing. Anyways, though, but just wanted to talk to you about that. Just wanted to bring, after we watched it, we said we've got to kind of put the word out there. If you haven't seen this, if you've enjoyed Get Back, if you've enjoyed Let It Be, you really need to watch this documentary. And anyways, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification icon. And also, thank you, patron supporters. Patron supporters receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel.
You're fierce and mighty.
And if you can't do that, we understand. You can just do a super thanks for any video that's posted here. And if you can't do that, you can just click like. And clicking like does a great, really helps this channel a lot. It does a great deal. It really helps the algorithm recognize the videos here and recommend them to more people. Check it out. Let us know what you think. Watch the film. Let us know.
Yeah.
Interested in hearing what you have to say. We'll see you in the next video. Hope you all stay safe and healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yes, Grogu, you can record your first album at Abbey Road.
Yeah.